the true story of Goliath and his brothers. Imagine a time when giants roamed the earth, their very presence a symbol of insurmountable power and fear. Imagine a time where armies of men had giants among their ranks. Imagine a time when ordinary men looked up to these giants, not just in fear, but with a sense of awe and wonder, questioning their own place in a world shared with such gargantuan beings. Imagine a time when these giants walked among us, their lives intertwined with ours, their stories, not just tales of old, but chapters in the history of humankind, forever etched in the annals of time. Goliath, a name synonymous with strength and intimidation, is just the beginning of this saga. His story, etched in the annals of 1 Samuel 17, paints a vivid picture of a warrior so formidable that even the bravest hearts of men feared to face him. However, what remains shrouded in the mists of history is the tale of his brothers, giants in their own right, whose stories are as intriguing as they are mysterious. A lot of people do not know that Goliath was not alone. He had brothers. As we peel back the layers of time, we unearth a narrative that extends beyond Goliath, the Philistine from Gath. Goliath's armor, a testament to his might, weighed as much as a small man, his spear akin to a weaver's beam in size and weight. But beyond his physical prowess lay a lineage of giants, each with their own story, each a chapter in the chronicles of David's legendary battles. These giants, relatives of Goliath, emerge from scriptures within the sacred text. Their very existence challenges our understanding of the ancient world and its inhabitants. Were they Nephilim, the offspring of angels and humans, as some speculate, or were they simply men of extraordinary stature, descendants of a lineage lost to time? Join me as we journey through 2 Samuel and 1 Chronicles, exploring the lives and deaths of these enigmatic figures. We will unravel the sequences of their origins, question the assumptions of their identities. Goliath, the Philistine first, Samuel 17:2-7. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together, and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span, and he had an helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass, and he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders, and the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him. Throughout the history recorded in the Bible, the Philistines are repeatedly mentioned as adversaries of the Israelites. This long-standing enmity was particularly evident during the reign of King Saul, who encountered the Philistines on numerous occasions. One of the most significant of these encounters is detailed in the story of Goliath, the Philistine giant, who stood as the champion of their army. In biblical times, the role of a champion in an army was crucial and held in high esteem. Such a champion was not merely a skilled warrior, but also a symbol of the army's strength and honor. Selected for their extraordinary combat abilities, courage, and tactical acumen, these champions represented more than just military prowess. They embodied the spirit and resolve of their people. Their task was to defend their army's honor and interests, often engaging in single combat to resolve disputes, determine the outcome of conflicts, or settle the fates of prisoners. This form of combat was a strategic and symbolic gesture, designed to reduce the casualties of open warfare. Goliath, as described in the biblical narrative, was such a champion for the Philistine army. His presence on the battlefield was not only a physical threat due to his size and strength, but also a psychological one, as he embodied the might and determination of the Philistines. His challenge to the Israelites and subsequent encounter with David is a pivotal moment that illustrates the significance of these champions in ancient military history. Goliath was a Philistine from the city of Gath. Citizens of Gath are called Gittites. Goliath was addressed as a Gittite in 2 Samuel 21:19. He was over 9 feet tall. If you try to picture a giant above the height of 9 feet, you will understand how threatening the physique of Goliath was. In 2009, Sultan Kosen was identified as the tallest man measured by the Guinness World Records. He is a Turkish farmer of about 8 feet and 3 inches in height. So, presently, the tallest man in the world is not as tall as Goliath, above 9 feet in height. Goliath's formidable presence extended beyond his towering height. He was a seasoned warrior with seemingly impregnable defenses. Adorned in a heavy suit of bronze armor, including a helmet and coat of mail weighing around 125 pounds, his defense appeared nearly impenetrable. He also wore bronze greaves for leg protection and wielded a massive bronze javelin, the shaft of which was as heavy as a weaver's beam, and the spearhead alone was about 15 pounds. Adding to his defense, an armor-bearer accompanied him, carrying a large shield to deflect incoming arrows. This setup presented a daunting challenge for the Israelite soldiers. The shield-bearer's role was critical in thwarting attacks aimed at Goliath, and even if an arrow did penetrate this first line of defense, Goliath's personal armor provided an additional layer of protection. His sheer size and fortified armor made him a terrifying opponent, heightening the sense of impossibility among the Israelite ranks. The fear among the Israelites intensified when Goliath issued a challenge in 1 Samuel 17 verses 8 to 11. He proposed a deal. If an Israelite could defeat him, the Philistines would become their servants, but if he prevailed, the Israelites would serve the Philistines. This proposition, coupled with the seemingly insurmountable task of defeating Goliath, paralyzed the Israelite army with fear, leading to a 40-day period of inaction, during which even King Saul retreated in apprehension. The story takes a turn with the arrival of David, a young shepherd who, despite his youth and ineligibility for military service, was deeply offended by Goliath's disrespect towards the God of the Israelites. Motivated by his faith, David volunteered to face Goliath. Initially, Saul was skeptical due to David's youth, but David's recounting of his experiences defending his sheep against predators convinced Saul of his capability. David's confidence stemmed from his faith in God rather than conventional military might. In the ensuing confrontation, David, armed only with a sling and stone, stood against Goliath, who was equipped with a sword, spear, and shield. David's trust in God was unwavering, and he proclaimed that he fought in the name of the Lord of Israel's armies. Using his sling, David struck Goliath, incapacitating him. Seizing the moment, David used Goliath's sword to kill him. The defeat of their champion caused the Philistine army to flee in disarray, leading to their defeat by the Israelites. In conclusion, while the Israelites initially cowered in fear of Goliath, it was David's faith in God that empowered him to overcome the giant and secure victory for the Israelites, demonstrating the power of faith over fear and might. Now that we have some context surrounding Goliath, what may surprise a lot of people is that Goliath had brothers. Goliath was not the only giant in the land of the Philistines. He had brothers whose outlooks were also terrific. According to the information provided in the scriptures, Goliath had 4 relatives like him in physique and strength. There is somewhat of a debate surrounding the relation to Goliath with these individuals. However, we know they were all biologically related to Goliath. The mighty men of David finally killed all the descendants of Goliath. The narrative is recorded in 2 Samuel 21 verses 15 to 22 and 1 Chronicles 20 verses 4 to 8. 1 Chronicles 20 verses 4 to 8. And it came to pass after this, that there arose war at Gaza with the Philistines, at which time Sibbeshai the Hushathite slew Sippai, that was of the children of the giant, and they were subdued. And there was war again with the Philistines, and Elhanan the son of Jair slew Lami, the brother of Goliath the Gittite, whose spear staff was like a weaver's beam. And yet again there was war at Gath, where was a man of great stature, whose fingers and toes were 24, 6 on each hand, and 6 on each foot, and he also was the son of the giant. But when he defied Israel, Jonathan the son of Shimeah, David's brother, slew him. These were born unto the giant in Gath, and they fell by the hand of David, and by the hand of his servants. Here in 1 Chronicles 25, the verse states specifically that Lami was a brother of Goliath. 2 Samuel 21, 15 to 17. Moreover, the Philistines had yet war again with Israel, and David went down, and his servants with him, and fought against the Philistines. And David waxed faint. And Ishbi-benob, which was of the sons of the giant, the weight of whose spear weighed 300 shekels of brass in weight, he being girded with a new sword, thought to have slain David. But Abishai the son of Zeruiah succored him, and smote the Philistine, and killed him. Then the men of David sware unto him, saying, Thou shalt go no more out with us to battle, that thou quench not the light of Israel. Ishbi-benob is identified in the Bible as a relative of Goliath. Following David's victory over Goliath, the Israelites continued to engage in battles with the Philistines, particularly during David's reign. While the narrative of David's encounter with Goliath does not mention Goliath's relatives, subsequent accounts reveal that his kin, including Ishbi-benob, confronted David and his men, possibly seeking vengeance for Goliath's defeat. The biblical account notes that Ishbi-benob's spear weighed approximately 7 pounds, and he was intent on killing David. However, divine intervention through Abishai, one of David's mighty men, led to Ishbi-benob's defeat and death. The text describes Ishbi-benob as one of Goliath's sons. Another relative of Goliath mentioned in Scripture is Saph. According to 2 Samuel 21:18, there was a battle with the Philistines at Gob, where Sibbechai the Hushathite killed Saph, who was also described as a son of the giant. This encounter further illustrates the ongoing conflicts between the Israelites and the Philistines, particularly involving the descendants of Goliath. The final relative of Goliath mentioned in the Bible is found in 2 Samuel 21:20-22. This passage describes a battle in Gath involving a giant of great stature with 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, a unique physical trait distinguishing him from others. This individual, also a descendant of Goliath, was defeated by Jonathan, the nephew of David. Thus, the Bible records that these 4 relatives of Goliath, all giants, met their end at the hands of David and his men. These accounts underscore the ongoing theme of conflict between the Israelites and the Philistines, and highlight the notable figures who played significant roles in these historical battles. The identity of Goliath and his brothers raises an intriguing question: were they Nephilim? This topic has been the subject of much debate and speculation. Some have suggested that they were part of the post-flood Nephilim. However, this interpretation may not align with the biblical text, as there is no explicit mention in Scripture that Goliath and his kin were Nephilim. Biblical evidence points more towards the origin and true identity of Goliath and his brothers. The Philistines, from whom Goliath descended, are historically linked to the Anakim. Gath, Goliath's hometown, was known as a stronghold of the Anakim. Therefore, it is more plausible to consider Goliath and his siblings as Rephates, not Nephilim. This assertion is supported by the fact that Goliath's relatives are referred to as coming from Rapha of Gath, 2 Samuel 21:16, suggesting that Goliath himself was a Rephate. Additionally, the existence of giants is not exclusive to the Philistine lineage, nor are their origins universally attributed to the union of angels and humans, as suggested in some interpretations of the Nephilim. For example, Deuteronomy 3:11 speaks of Og, king of Bashan, who was also a giant. His bedstead, described as being made of iron, measured 9 cubits in length and 4 cubits in width. Yet Og is not identified as a Nephilim in the scriptures. Although the Bible does not categorize Goliath and his family as Nephilim, their formidable size and strength are undeniable. Their extraordinary physical attributes might have led some to perceive them as akin to the Nephilim of old. In modern times, such giants as described in these biblical accounts are not known to exist. These scriptural references to Goliath and his relatives underscore the diverse and extraordinary nature of God's creation as recorded in the Bible,